What's going on, everyone? I have a feeling this week is going to be one of the best weeks we've seen in some time. Earnings season is back. We have stocks having a pretty strong recovery to start out, and there's going to be a whole lot of opportunities. So in today's video, we're going to go over the best setups for the rest of the week, the big news with Tesla, and some other crazy news that you guys are just going to have to stick around to find out. So with that being said, Tom, let's jump right into today's episode.
Yeah, you know, Tesla had a pretty good day today, kind of moving all over the place. They're running to the upside up to 290, and they had that good news, obviously, with that Cybertruck yesterday. You know, first one rolled off the factory in Austin, Texas, which was great. And then today, I actually saw some more news with them, Mike, where they're actually going to be doubling capacity at their Berlin Gigafactory, which is amazing. You know, to see them doubling capacity is just going to mean more production, more revenue in the long term for them. So good thing here that they're doing that. And the more that they do this at their other factories too, and the more these factories just start ramping up and, you know, getting to that full capacity mark, we're going to start seeing Tesla start to really make some strides, I think, Mike, especially in the revenue department because of that truck with all those pre-orders and everything. That is going to drive a lot of money into this stock.
You know it. And when we look at Tesla on the charts, it had a decent day today ahead of their Wednesday earnings report. Tesla stock is just under it's just above now $290, and it's still below that $300 resistance. I know everyone has their eyes on Tesla this week as they report earnings. It's going to be one of the craziest weeks that Tesla has seen in at least a couple months now.
Yeah, exactly. You know, they've been running up a lot lately from that low all the way back up to this key trend line that they're kind of bouncing off of as well. And they actually started to barely break above there today. So I'm curious if this is going to end up being a solid break with these earnings, or if the earnings are going to push us back down and this trend line is going to hold up. I love this going into earnings here because it gives us kind of a, you know, way to watch the markets here. And if we do start extending out after those earnings, it could be a time to maybe trade some breakouts or something like that. So I do like that for this week, Mike. And I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities, not even just with Tesla, but even with Netflix, IBM, Johnson & Johnson, and Taiwan Semiconductors as well. And we even saw some news today, kind of, it's not Tesla, but we did see some news with Ford in there. They had to cut the price of their Ford Lightning, and I thought that might actually help their stock go up, but it's actually killing them.
Yeah, so let's talk more about that. A lot of people, when they look at EVs, say Tesla is like the king of all electric vehicles, and you know, when you compare it to Ford, it sure looks like that right now. So essentially, Ford cut prices on its electric F-150 Lightning pickup trucks by like 10 grand today. So that is not something you want to see at all. A $10,000 cut, that's horrible. And like they cited it as like they're just like looking to like boost production and all that stuff, and like lower costs for the battery minerals and all that stuff, right? They just gave a BS excuse. And you know, the investors in Ford stock clearly saw right through that as the stock just cratered today. And you know, I guess it just makes you happier to be a Tesla investor if you are one.
Yeah, exactly. And I know that, you know, Ford, obviously, they're a big company. They've been out for a long time. Tesla's more of an innovator. I'm not going to lie, you know, this Ford Lightning pickup truck just doesn't look very wowing to me. It just looks like every other Ford pickup truck that's been out, which is a good thing and a bad thing, I guess, depending on who you talk to. But I think that the way that Tesla truck, it just looks so awesome to me. And I know that, you know, we keep talking about Tesla in such a good way. There was actually some bad news today where Pocahontas actually came out and said that she's actually looking for Tesla to get, well, she's urging the SEC to investigate Tesla over the Twitter ties. And she went into a whole bunch of things here saying conflicts of interest and all types of stuff like that. So I'm curious to see what the SEC does, considering that they've done some stuff to Elon in the past, and not gonna lie, in this picture here, Elon looks pretty pissed.
This reminds me of like that one like tattletale kid in like kindergarten that just like tells the teacher on anything. Like you could see Elizabeth Warren literally just did that exact same thing. She sent a letter urging the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission to investigate Tesla and its board of directors. It's like, come on, you know? So the stock didn't really care about this news at all, but I guess it is something worth noting. But Tom, a couple minutes ago, you brought up that earnings chart. We're just starting to get back into earnings season. What's on the schedule?
Yeah, so for tomorrow, I think we really are going to kick it off for the week. Today, we didn't really have anything to look at. Tomorrow, in the morning, Bank of America, Charles Schwab, Morgan Stanley. Those are three powerhouses there. So keep your eyes on those. I know a lot of people have been looking at Morgan Stanley, Bank of America a lot. Schwab is huge as well. Even Lockheed Martin reports in the morning. So I like that one as well. You know, those war stocks have been doing, you know, it's been interesting ever since the Ukraine situation's been going on. So I'll be watching them. And then Wednesday, we have Goldman. And then, of course, Tesla and Netflix in after hours Wednesday. So it's quite the week, Mike. And then, of course, Taiwan Semiconductors Thursday, too. I would say those three, Tesla, Netflix, and Taiwan Semiconductors, are really the main ones to watch. But there's a lot of outliers, too.
Exactly. I love earnings season. I'm sure a lot of people in the, I guess you could say, watching this video do too. Earnings season's when you see some of the biggest and best moves ever, and that's when the market really has a choice to either turn on those rocket burners and keep the uptrend going, or, you know, either reverse. So I'm pretty excited about that. But one stock that does report earnings, Taiwan Semiconductors, actually had some bad news recently, where we could see that Taiwan's chip exports fell the most in 14 years. So that is not good at all right now. Of course, there's a lot of like geopolitical risk with Taiwan and China and all that crazy stuff. But ahead of earnings, this is some data you don't want to see.
Yeah, you really don't. And I mean, to see that coming in negative there is pretty rough. Taiwan Semiconductors is a pretty big company, and I'm really hoping for a good earnings from them. But with those exports coming down low there, it definitely worries me a little bit. So I'm going to be watching this stock very, very closely. I'm not saying to go out there and, you know, buy puts ahead of earnings or anything like that. But if we do see it maybe bounce off this big resistance around like 105 or 106, and then we see it start to reject and fall back down, that could maybe be a good time to start to get in after those earnings come out on Thursday morning. So just keep that in mind. That's definitely a scary chart for me, Mike, and you never want to see something like that where, you know, exports are falling and on any company. I mean, that's rough for anybody.
Exactly. And then, Tom, what's even crazier and also slightly off topic is, you know, just the other week we had news of that NASDAQ special rebalancing, which is something extremely, extremely rare. This is only the third time in history this is happening. But long story short, we finally know where the money's gonna flow. So essentially, as we could see on this list, we have like the most influential stocks like Apple and Microsoft in the NASDAQ. And as the list gets lower, they have less and less of an influence. But essentially what we're seeing is, you know, the weighting of these top 7 big tech stocks in the NASDAQ get reduced, and Apple's going to have around like a 56 basis point cut, so it's around 0.5%, but like some stocks like Microsoft are almost seeing a 3% cut from the NASDAQ. Nvidia is another big one, almost 3%, and there's just a lot of money that's going to flow out of these stocks directly, and that money is going to flow right into stocks like Broadcom, which is AVGO, or even like Pepsi and AMD and Netflix. So it's interesting to see exactly where the money's flowing right now.
It really is, and you can see like right here on the left, this July 14th column is the current weighting, and then this is like the weighting that we're going to be seeing after that. So you can see the numbers right there. Like Microsoft's is real bad, like you said, Mike. That's terrible. I don't know what Pepsi's doing in the NASDAQ, and if somebody knows, let me know in the comments down below. It sounds like a Dow stock to me, but it's in the NASDAQ, and they're actually getting a weighting increase, which is pretty good. You know, like you said, AVGO. I even like that AMD one you mentioned, Mike. I thought it was really interesting that Nvidia is losing some weighting and AMD is getting more. Now, granted, Nvidia still has like triple the weighting of AMD here, but still, it's still good to see that AMD is getting a bit more. So I'm really going to keep my eyes on some of these key stocks at the top. Almost all of these that are losing weighting are extremely, extremely overextended right now. So that's one thing to keep in mind too.
And another thing to keep in mind is that this like special rebalancing is actually happening pretty soon. So it will like fully 100% go into effect by Monday. Like it technically like happens after the close on Friday, but realistically it ain't happening until Monday. So keep that in mind. It's gonna creep up on us pretty quickly. So that's very interesting. But Tom, there was also some interesting news with the, I guess we'll call them like phone service stocks. AT&T and Verizon actually hit 30-year lows today, and they're just getting destroyed. Like, essentially what's happening is pretty crazy and just not really too expected, at least in my opinion. So, like, specifically, we're going to talk about AMD at least to start, but it applies to both of them. So, AT&T got downgraded, which is one thing, but essentially what's happening is they are using toxic lead-covered cables all across the country right now, and people are basically saying there's a pretty big risk that they can get sued, and because of that, the stock is tanking, and they're at 30-year lows.
Yeah, I mean, that's terrible. Like, a 30-year low on a company like AT&T is very, very rough to see, especially considering, like, why do people buy this stock, Mike? Generally, you know, I see so many people talk about it. Why do they talk about it? Because the dividend is insane. It's like 7% plus. And to see it, the stock falling like this is obviously brutal. And, you know, this stock's had a bunch of big swings. Look at 2007, 2008. We actually double topped in like 2017, 2018, right off of that same level from that, you know, from like the financial crisis there. So I'm really going to be watching AT&T, Mike. That long-term chart is very, very scary to see. And man, to see it just breaking below these supports like the way it is, that is brutal. Now, I don't think it's all because of like the lead cables, but that's definitely just another piece of the pie as of why this stock's going down. And, you know, like you mentioned, they've had so many like spin-offs and crap like that with their other companies. It's brutal for them. And I'm not going to lie, though, it's not just their fault. Like, Verizon is also looking pretty bad, too.
And what's so interesting is like, we're not talking about some crazy speculative growth or AI stock right here. We're talking about AT&T and Verizon. Like you said, people buy these companies for, like, you know, stability and dividends and all that stuff, and it's like they're doing a lot worse than like some stocks that are a lot more risky than them. And that's crazy to see. So what I take from this situation is it might not be a bad time to slowly start building a position in them. They still pay pretty solid dividends, and at least I don't see them going bankrupt anytime soon. What's also worth noting is, like, when you look at AT&T or Verizon, once you adjust for dividends, their chart looks a million times better. So, Tom, how about you show them a prime example?
Yeah, so right here, if we're looking at like 2008, 2009, look at how that high was up there right around $30 to $32 on the stock. Makes sense, right? Perfect double top here. It's a good level of resistance. Probably a lot of sellers coming in there. But whenever you adjust this for dividends, if you just would have bought this stock and held it, you can see it actually holds up a lot better. And if you bought it in 08 or 09, at least as of right now, in the next couple days, you might not be, you're actually still ahead, even if you would have bought at the very top right there. So that's actually really cool to see, because they've paid such a large dividend over time that, you know, the chart looks a lot more attractive with that on there. Now, I will say Verizon's, whenever you adjust for dividend, doesn't look that much better. It actually looks pretty near the same. So they don't look as good. You know, AT&T, they've always been known for paying just a crazy dividend.
Exactly. So keep these two crazy stocks on your watch list going forward. But Tom, it's enough talking about the news. It is now time for some setups. And one stock I'm watching super closely, Tom, I think you know what I'm already going to say, but that is Zoom. Zoom is actually moving to the upside with, for the most part, no news. And Zoom's a stock that I own for the long term. I really like them at this level. Right now, I would love to see them break above like $74 a share. If we see like a nice clean break above that, I think we could retest 80 and then eventually 84. But I want to really emphasize this. We need momentum. We need volume. If the stock opens up 0.2% today, then, you know, ignore the play. Like we need that. We need that momentum.
Yeah, we really do, and it had a lot today. I mean, today it had so much it opened, it even ran up above that resistance at 72 from last week, and just kept going. So yeah, keep Zoom on the radar. Definitely one of the ones that I always like to watch. And with one of my first ones, Mike, is Spotify. It's another one of those growth type of stocks that has been exploding recently, and they had a very nice close today, right up around 179 to 180. So if we can break that 180 resistance tomorrow, I'm definitely going to look at calls on Spotify. Some of these growth stocks are just looking so good in the short term. It's amazing to see.
Beautiful. Another stock I'm watching pretty closely is Lucid. So this stock was booming the other week after their news with the Saudi Public Investment Fund and a bunch of other stuff. But either way, the stock has pulled back a little bit. And if it can have some awesome momentum tomorrow, I would love to, follow that wave of buyers. Ideally, I'd like to see it up, maybe between like 4 and 5% before I really consider riding that momentum. A nice level to watch would be around 735 to maybe 740. Just depends on where open is. But yeah, I'm definitely looking at this one for a pop back up.
Yeah, and I would say that breakout above 735, 740 would be right around that 4 to 5% mark. So that does look pretty good there. I'll keep my eyes on Lucid. It's actually one of my favorite stocks as well lately. I've been kind of buying up some shares while it's low. Not too much though. Honestly, very low position sizes on that one. It's a very risky stock in my opinion, especially for the long term. Obviously, options are a different story here. But looking at my second play, we're actually going to go with Plug Power. I noticed these EV stocks, kind of like with Lucid, had some great momentum today. I loved how they held this support around 1270. And for the most part, they held up around that high today. So if they could get up above $13.10, I'm definitely going to eye up some calls here with Plug. Man, these growth stocks today were just looking so good. I had to even give a second mention here to DraftKings. They were looking pretty good too, but I'll be honest, they're up so much in the short term, it's hard to buy them anymore.
True that. Alrighty, good stuff there, Tom. But now it is time for the momentum plays, and with the first one, we have Fiverr or FVRR to the upside.
Yeah, they're actually running up right into resistance that I've had on the chart here for a little while, right at $30.80. So go ahead and make them break right above there.
All right, with the next one, we have Affirm also to the upside.
Affirm. Wow, it's been a while since we've heard about this one, Mike, at least since there's been any big news or anything like that. But it looks like they're actually really close to resistance. If they could break 1780, then look at those calls.
All right, and then with the last one, we have Amazon, Jeffrey Bezos to the downside.
Oh, Jeffrey Bezos. How can we betray him, Mike, and put it to the downside here? I'm just kidding, though. The stock actually looks pretty rough. Let's go ahead and make him break right down below 132.80.
Sounds great. So you guys heard Tom. We have that downside level for Jeffrey or Amazon. If it breaks below that, we're watching it for puts. And then we have the upside level for Affirm and Fiverr. If they break above those, we're watching them for calls. But it is now time for the big money $748,000 trade of the day. And we are looking at none other than BVN, a no-name stock that is probably the first time you're seeing this chart for most people. But either way, someone dumped $748,000 into the BVN 8 strike call options that expire on August 18th of 2023. Essentially, this is a Peruvian precious metals mining company, and plays like this are very interesting. Not every day do you see $750,000 get dumped into a Peruvian precious metals mining company, but I actually like setups like this because they are much more manipulated. So for example, let's say you have a multi-trillion dollar stock like Apple. It's a lot harder to see exactly where the big money's flowing because there's for multiple reasons, but it's a multi-trillion dollar company where when you have more of a speculative slash maybe manipulated company like BVN, it's easier to see what the big money's doing, and these types of stocks move big time off of news, events, and earnings. And I would not be surprised if some insider knows that earnings are going to be great, and that's why they're loading up. Of course, they can also be wrong, but I do like this setup.
Yeah, and it looks like they actually mine gold, silver, and other metals according to Reuters. So sounds good there. I know that gold's actually been looking pretty good lately. If we go out to the GLD on a daily chart, I mean, it's up quite a bit. Now, I know it's been going down maybe ever since the beginning of May, but it looks like recently, the past couple weeks, it's starting to come back up a little bit. So I think that would definitely help BVN if gold prices keep going up. And I think these insiders might know something because, to be honest, GLD and gold in general has a big triple top up here. And if this breaks, I think gold prices could start to go ballistic, at least above these recent highs.
Big time. So keep a close eye on gold prices and this crazy stock BVN. But on a different note, make sure to subscribe to the channel. If you guys are new here, make sure to subscribe. When you do, you'll see our videos recommended to you more often. We put hours and hours and hours worth of time into these videos to make them nice and easy to watch. Sometimes we're a little bit funny, but you get all the information you have to know about each day, and of course some great setups too. So why not subscribe? Of course, it's completely free, and you'll see our videos recommended to you more often. But Tom, it is now time for our member of the day, Kyle Am 408, that just crushed it. So he has now like almost a $34,000 account, and he made $8,700 today. So awesome job, Kyle. Keep it up.
Yeah, that was amazing. $8,000. Whenever I saw this earlier, I was just like, whoa, that was a nice day. So good stuff, and great job to get your account up 35% in one day. I will say, maybe limit the risk a little bit there, but hey, looking like you're doing pretty good. So shout out to you, Kyle. Great runner there. And he says he's still got runners on Apple and IWM as well. And I'll tell you what, with the way Apple closed, he might even have more gains tomorrow if this thing keeps going.
True that. So for everyone else out there, even if today wasn't the best, that's all right. Keep your head up high. Earnings season is back. That's all you can ask for. We have some pretty decent news. The market's running. We have big tech stocks running. So opportunities all around us. I think this week is really going to be a great one. And Tom, you know you're leaving one thing out for us. It's not the earnings. It's not any news. You know what it is.
Oh boy, it's that economic calendar. So be ready tomorrow morning, guys. We have the all-important retail sales. I think these are going to be market-breaking this week. Just be ready tomorrow. No, I'm just kidding. They're going to probably be nothing. Be ready for that. Be ready for some manufacturing, some industrial numbers. There's some Fed speakers as well, like Barr and Gibson. I really don't think there's going to be much, Mike. The big thing is those earnings in the morning. Really watch the banks and watch Lockheed Martin. Those could be pretty fun.
All right, there we go. Well, let's have an amazing week, guys. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new. And besides that, thanks for watching.